Hi, my name is Peter Kaplowski. Welcome to the Toronto International Film Festival. This is Midnight Madness, and you have all just experienced Titane. So joining me is its writer and director, Julia Ducournau. Julia, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Peter. Hi.
So first of all, congratulations, as I'm sure you have heard from everyone on your success at Cannes. Does it still feel surreal since July?
Yep. It is surreal. I don't think I will be able to process that in a long time. I mean, that's a lot to process, to be honest.
Well, in interviews that I've read, when you were developing Titane, it actually emerged during Raw. And I read that you felt that you were a bit frustrated with how you tackled love in that film. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a bit more, just in terms of what you meant by not being able to tackle love as directly as you did in Raw, and how you wanted to reconcile that and resolve that in Titane.
Okay, so first things first. The thing is that usually I realize that during the post-production process, this is when I start to be like, in need for a breath of fresh air, because you've been with your project for so long, for many years and stuff like that. And usually I tend to think about other stories that I could tell and other, just preoccupations or objects of obsession for me. And actually this happened during post-production of Titane as well for my next feature. So I really can tell that it's a real cycle in me. Post-production is the moment I start thinking about the other one, because I really need to. And it's true that when I was in post with Raw, it's not, I can't say really that it's frustration, but I just acknowledged that that love was a side topic in my film, even though it was also at the center for me somehow, because it's also what links like the whole story with her sister and all this. Mm-hmm. But I was thinking about how it's interesting how it was like more of a one character story, and about how she emancipates and finds herself through this monstrosity that she discovers in herself, and that somehow she's also like redeemed by this connection that she has with Adrian, which is a connection that is unconditional and absolute, and that they come like to love each other in so many ways, because they do need each other at this moment during the hazing and during the very, very violent time of their lives. And I just think that at the time I was not ready to make a two characters story. And that's why I'm saying it's not really frustration, is that I think that was not the right time for me to make it the center of a story. But then I just thought, I think that actually talking about love is hard for me, and I acknowledge that, thinking about all this, and I think it's just hard, and I think it's an incredibly hard topic to tackle, and you have to like question yourself a lot while thinking about that and how you perceive it. And I noticed that I can't talk about it, let's say, in something that is less than unconditional and absolute. For me, it's like, it's a feeling that is so beyond us, that is so strong, that I cannot, I did not want to put words on it. And that's why it was so hard for me to talk about it, because I would feel that it would like belittle this topic and belittle the feeling, right? And so I thought, well, if you can't do it, or you think you can't do it, then do it. And we'll see what happens, and Titane happened.
And thank God for that. But I think it's interesting that you say that it's something that's difficult to articulate, because I think what is interesting about the characters in the film is they are a few words themselves. That so much of their love is expressed through physical gestures and intimacy. And could you speak a bit about how you directed your actors' physical performance and how important that was in a movie like Titane?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's like, as I told you, I can't really put words on it. And so for me, it came like supernaturally. I never questioned the fact that it was a movie that is of very few words. It felt like that actually like putting words on some scenes were actually gonna, belittle the feeling and the bond that I'm trying to create between my characters throughout. So it's true that I mean, I do think like that my characters, in the way they meet, there are two things that are important. It's the look and the gaze they have for each other. It's everything about the gaze actually first, when they first meet, and then it's their body when they are closed in an apartment, and also closed in the camera, because all the shots I do with the two of them together are quite claustrophobic, so I really like, push them together. And at this level she can't speak, obviously, because otherwise her voice would betray her real identity. And so the only way they can communicate is just by bearing with each other in a small space. So here every movement and every look has its importance, and it's all the more important because Alexia from the beginning has somehow left her humanity or put it aside, and or has actually become what she has become, which is a serial killer, because of the absence of look, of gaze of her own father on her. And she's seeking that gaze from the start as a child, you know, and it's not there. And because he's not looking at her, then, you know, she can't really like define herself like physically. She can't put contour on her own body, and she's just like, she's a surplus of everything, a surplus of impulses, a surplus of depth, drive, and all this, because no one has really looked at her. And that's how I see it. And Vincent, on the opposite, looks at her constantly in a very intrusive way, almost violent way, very like very, you know, like a vampire somehow. He's trying to like put her into his fantasy, his own fantasy. So he looks at her constantly, and this is actually how he starts giving her contour, and how she starts like inhabiting her skin through his look. All right. So all this was the center of their relationship, let's say. And when I was working with Vincent and Agathe, I told them from the start that the most important thing was that they undergo a transformation, a bodily transformation, to get into the skins of their character first, because I do think that the body is the first companion for an actor or an actress. It's really the first thing you play with to get into a part. And also because it was very, very like important that they do not look like who they are. Like when they saw each other, that they did not see their own body, that they saw a body that was about to transform. So that's also like a very like, it was tricky. So Vincent had to like really do a lot of pumps. How do you call that with the waves?
The powerlifting and bodybuilding. Yeah,
exactly, for a year, and she also had to work on her body a lot, with also powerlifting, but also with the dance, which was a very important, obviously, element of her training.
And it was important for you to find an unknown, like again, you found on Instagram. Like you didn't want a recognizable actor in that role because the transformation was so key.
The thing is that I needed an unknown face, so that we don't project anything on her, and that we actually believe every stage of her transformation without questioning it, like without thinking like it's a disguise or something. I think that would have been the worst thing, to think that it's just a disguise, because for me it's really like an identity in movement. And every stage has to be like, okay, that's who she is, that's what she embraces, that's who she is, and stuff like that. So it was really important that we did not like have other films behind to project on that face.
Well, what was that first Instagram DM to Agathe? Like, how did you reach out to the actor?
I'm not on Instagram, actually. I saw her profile or page. I don't know how you call that.
Okay.
But because my casting director saw it, we looked a lot through like profiles like this on Instagram of models, androgynous models, basically, and also male models as well, for the same part. And that's it. And then she called her, and we had the regular casting. But I'm not on Instagram, so it didn't happen.
So this film is almost a musical as well. There's so much dance and brilliant musical selections. Were some of those musical selections in mind from the very script stage? Like you knew you wanted the zombies, you knew you wanted Future Islands. What inspired those choices and those songs specifically?
Well, let's say that, but one, all the songs are in the script. You can read the script, you see them already. I mean, the hard part was like, are we ever going to get the rights for these songs who are incredibly expensive?
Yes.
For right reason, because a lot of them are hits, you know. So it's really like you know, it was a tough call and a bit far-fetched that we would all get them. But my musical supervisor did a brilliant job. And yeah, I mean, if you listen to it again, you'll see that in the lyrics of each of these songs, there is something that is very tightly linked to the themes of my film. There's, of course, Wayfaring Stranger. There is She's Not There, obviously. Well, no, she's not really there anymore. Yeah, well, in the Future Island track, he says a lot, it's not you, and there is this thing about it's not you that comes again, like very, and for me it's really like it's not you, like I know it's not you, Adrian, you know. I'm a bit like Vincent's at this moment, so that's how I hear the song. And
so they really do operate like musical numbers, almost like the way that not in like a campy or corny way, but in the way that they are expressing the character's emotions.
No, absolutely, they do. They are here to express either the emotions of my character at this moment, or the stakes changing at this moment they're bound. Absolutely, it's not a musical, obviously, because every time there is a dance piece, it's really like it comes because of the context, and it's not out of the blue. Everyone starts dancing. It's really because like people are just dancing at this moment in a fairly like understandable way, you know. It's brought by the context. That's why I'm saying it's not really a musical. But what you're right is that, you know, in editing, I think probably the first like very, very, very rough edit was 2 hours and 40 minutes or something like this. So an hour more than that. And when we started the real work of editing with my editor, and we started like really shedding the skins, you know, more and more. And then all the dance pieces had to stay because obviously all of them are pivots in the story. And then, you know, when you take out other scenes, then they started like being closer and closer and closer. And at one moment I was like, wow, yeah, it's like there is a lot of dance in this film, you know, but it's not something that I knew there were a lot of, but seeing them so close in the narration, in the story, in the film, and I felt it's great because really it's like, for me, dance, it's a dialogue between bodies. It's the best way bodies can tell things to each other, you know, and it's the best way they can say I love you. It's the best way they can say I accept you, and all this. So I thought that it's great that in the end it really do feel like the bodies are talking more than the mouth and the minds in the film, because I think there are more minutes of dancing in the film than there are minutes where people talk, which is like, I think exactly what it was meant to be.
Yeah, even the violence in the massacre in the mansion, the juxtaposition of music during that sequence, it feels there's a ballet, there's a violent ballet to that sequence. How is choreographing that sequence, which just feels dangerous? Like it feels like the way you shot it, and the violence is so visceral. It's one of the most intense sequences in the film.
Oh, okay, thanks. The first thing, by the way, is that the song you hear, that is by Caterina Caselli, the title is Nessuno mi può giudicare, nemmeno tu. It means no one can judge me, not even you. And of course, considering the sequence, again, it was very like this song that I wanted and no other. It was really had to be this song because of these lyrics, obviously. And so this sequence originally was shot as a one-er. And I really did intend to keep it like this because, to be honest, the crew, it was a very hard one-er to do because you had basically a lot of special effects that had to happen during the shot. When we were actually shooting, then you had like my special effects.
Alfonso.
Yeah, behind with the fake blood and going like this and putting blood on the guy, and then the camera goes back, and it was really, and of course it's on 2 floors of the house, and so for my DOP it was like very, 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 you know, tough to do physically. But so we did a great job doing it. It's the only thing is that I had to cut it because since the pace of the song is so fast, that in the end you had moments where the camera was a bit, you know, was taking times that were not right, you know, in terms of rhythm and stuff, because it's a very let's say rhythmical sequence. It has a pace to it. You have moments where it goes very fast and then it slows down a little bit. You have a moment for comedy and then it goes back to it. And it was really, it was really tailored like this. And so it was honestly, it was one of the best. I love shooting one-ers. That's like one of my favorite thing on the set. And this one was particularly hard, especially with all the stunts, as you were saying before, which were made live, obviously. And
unbelievable.
Yeah,
I mean, I love one-ers too, because I feel like it's the moment where the crew is dancing as well. Like it's a dance as well. Like there's choreography.
Right. It's exactly why I like making one-ers. The same in the car show at the beginning, which was also technically very hard to do. But I always like to create these one-ers that are very, very difficult and bear many challenges, because it implies every single person in the crew, like everyone has something to defend, everyone has something that is very hard to do, and so everyone is really committed, and it's something we do together. And I love this feeling when you match. It's you know, it's a communicative happiness. It's very nice.
Yeah, no, I absolutely understand the wavelength that you're saying. Jim Williams composed your music, your score again. You worked with him on Raw. I noticed that the final track in the film is a Sarahband, like a sort of it evokes Handel Sarahband, and that always, you know, reminds me of Stanley Kubrick. And I don't know if that was where did the selection of that choice, was that Jim's idea? Did you like, no, I want Sarahband to end this movie?
I told him I want a Sarahband. Well, I'm gonna tell you how I got there, because it's not like, oh, I want to do something like Kubrick, because I'm not Kubrick, and that was not my intent. But let's say that throughout the whole score, there were two elements on which from the start I wanted to play with: bells and percussions, drums, heavy drums, but not distorted, like super dry drums. And I play on this because it's really like, for me, the drums are really about the impulses, the death, you know, the kind of animalistic death drive that she has. And the bells are obviously all about the metallic sounds that had to be everywhere in the film. And we added through it in order to make an evolution through the film. We added the choruses, the choirs, and in order to go from animalistic to sacred. That was my line, you know, of evolution for the music, from going from animalistic to sacred. And in the end, when you think about the Sarahband in Barry Lyndon, it's really a very, very like balanced combination of both, of something that is warlike with the dry drums, very dry drums that you have, but it's so dry that it feels like something that is just like a death drive walking, you know. It's like, it's a bit like, it's sounding like you're going to the front and you're gonna die. Like it's super solemn. And at the same time, you have like all the voices and the harpsichord and all this that makes it like way more sacred than that. And it's a perfect combination for that. So obviously when it was that time in the film where I had to combine all my elements of animalistic and sacred, I thought about this score right away. It was like, that is so right for that. And so I told Jim, I need a Sarahband. I didn't say I need Kubrick's Sarahband, because
no. You want Julia's Sarahband.
No, yeah, actually, it's a variation of the first score you hear for the first time, except you don't hear it because the first time it was played only by drums. So it's hard to get the melody at this moment. But it's really like, for me, it was obvious at this moment that only a Sarahband could reflect the fact that somehow as well she was going to war, because she was going to show herself as she is for the first time to Vincent.
Well, you just describing that makes me realize that then in a way the score itself is rebuilding its humanity, just as she is too. That she begins at this level with nothing, and then more elements, more of her identity is filled in and revealed. It's terrific. We're almost out of time. I just wanted to quickly ask about. I know American photographer Nan Golden was a substantial influence on the look of the film. Could you speak to specifically what about her images attracted you or inspired you?
To be honest, it's not really like a direct reference. Like I did not try to put one of her photographs in or something like this. I must say that Nan Golden's work is really, for me, it's let's say it's an emotional reference for me. It's like it's an artist I think about a lot, not only when I work, but like all the time, just because of I love the way she's so honest. She's like bluntly honest. I mean, she doesn't try to be smooth. She doesn't try to be polite, and she doesn't try to be beautiful, to make beautiful things. She finds beauty in what other people would find ugliness, or something that is to be repulsed by, or marginals or things like that. And she always portrays her friends as kings and as queens, and they are always so lively and so beautiful at the same time, very, in a very raw way. I love the way she looks at the world, and that's how she's more of an influence to me. I love the fact that she's so blunt and so like no bullshit kind of thing, and at the same time how she can find beauty anywhere, and make it look beautiful. That's how, I mean, it's just her vision moves me so much that's how it's a big reference for me.
Well, I see it in the film because this is a movie that has some monstrous images and some extremity, human extremities, but there's so much beauty in this film. And that's what I keep telling everyone who's in Toronto who is excited to see the film, is that, they're all like, oh, I'm so worried, am I going to be able to watch it? I'm going to have to watch between fingers. And I try to explain to them, this is actually the most tender and beautiful movie that Midnight has seen in probably since Raw. So we're so happy.
More tender than Raw, to be honest, not to make a bad pun or anything, but I do think that it's more somehow. But yeah, my salesman, the person who sold the film internationally, always told me like, but it's so much softer than Raw, and not just because of the graphic things, but just in the way you look at the world. And to be honest, I'm glad that you find it like this, and I'm glad that he told me that, because it's a movie that I know is very radical. My energy while making it was incredibly radical, and somehow also angry at many moments. And at the same time, there was something in me that was so angry and so dark that I thought there has to be something moving and sensitive to get out of it, because I don't like films that are just that sticks to you in a bad way, like you feel heavy afterwards. For me, it was always talking about love, but to talk about love, it's really, you can't expect it to come easy. It has to have a story, right?
It's a birth. It's painful and it's hard. Well, thank you so much, Julia. That's all the time we have, but I am so delighted to be hosting the film in Toronto and to have you in Midnight again. And I wish you all the best on the success of the film as it goes off into the world, and as you go on to your next film, which as you said, is already percolating, and that has me very excited.
Yep. Thank you very much.